Okay. All right, so we are here right now to talk about observation reports. Out of the new people, can you tell me how often we do observation reports? Did we read that somewhere? Did we may not have? I can't remember if we went over it in the spring or not. Jenny probably doesn't know that. Okay.
First 5 weeks of
First 5 weeks of school, of each term. So in the spring, we will do it also. So I'll just kind of go through the handout. I know you guys can read, but I'll try to interact a little bit. Why are these reports done? Oftentimes those that are higher up at CSE know information about certain individuals that we will never know about them. They know drug-related issues, alcohol-related issues, depression, that kind of thing. Certain aspects of those types of things that we will never know about, unless there's a reason for us to know. So these reports can help them to know, use as another tool for them to know a little bit about what's going on a weekly basis, at least the first 5 weeks of school, okay? Studies show that the first 5 weeks, or first weeks of college in either term are crucial times in an individual's life. They may experience homesickness, depression. They may not know how to cope with the freedom that they have now, being away from home. They may not like being around so many people. They may not be able to manage the stresses that they might encounter with classes, friendships, work, all of that at one time. Or they may begin to party too much. So a little bit of social excess there. Not only the homesickness can go both ways. I found last year, so it's not just the kid being homesick, but parents drop their kids off for the first time and they're the ones crying and that kind of thing. And it is an emotional time, but sometimes mom doesn't know how to handle it or dad doesn't know how to handle it, having their kid, it's a lot of emptiness. They don't know how to handle that and having their last child be out of the house. And so then they don't realize it, but in conversations with the child, then that puts guilt on that kid. Oh no, maybe I should go home so that mom's not so stressed out, or I can help dad with work or whatever. So we want to get the kids involved and let them know that you guys are there for them as kind of a way to maybe pull them back and keep them here, okay? So when we do those, the first 5 weeks, like Kelly said, each RA will be required to make a minimum of 5 individual contact connections with residents. It's not each week, but each of those weeks. So you make at least one contact, that's what it should say. One contact a week for 5 weeks, okay? In the fall and the spring. It should be done, should only be used as a guide, and the RA should be making contacts with it without any expectation. So beyond the 5 weeks, don't just drop off the face of the earth for that resident, just still let them know that you're there and still making contacts with them. You just don't have to report those to us unless you see a red flag, okay? And then even when you're doing the observation reports and you do notice those red flags, you observe something that just isn't right, or you overhear something that just isn't right, that's when you would also do a memo of conversation. And those are things that we want to know right away. Don't wait until Friday when they're due, okay? So those are things that you would send to us in a memo right away. Does that make sense? So these are to be submitted to your RD by each Friday at 10 p.m. Via email. Just email them to us. Have the body of the observation report completed and attached in your email. If you notice anything or you just kind of want to add your opinion about a person, what you kind of think's happening, but maybe it couldn't be, that goes in the body of the email to us. Or if there's somebody that we really need to focus on and worry about, that goes, the red flags, that goes in the body of the email. And then you can highlight that person's name too. But if you have a lot of residents, highlight it so we can easily find it. I know when the observation reports start coming in for me, from my RAs, if I'm awake or if I'm not busy, I do start reading them. Just to get a heads up, because we have to read each and every one of them. And if I get one of those red flags, I send it on to Tammy and Sherry right away so that they can get on it the next morning. Because because they will. If it's something that bad and it's a Saturday morning, they will get on it and start the ball rolling if the kid needs help or whatever, okay? So make sure you do get them in at 10 o'clock and you do note if there's a red flag or somebody that we really should keep an eye on, okay? The blank observation report form can be found on the group page. This website, you want to make as a favorite on your computer. This website you should be accessing weekly. It has your observation reports, incident reports, memos of conversation, all your programming, paperwork, the student handbooks, the manuals, anything that you're going to need as an RA for paperwork to turn into an RD or TAMI is on this website. So make sure, it's a hard one to commit to memory, so make sure you have it somewhere easily accessible, okay? Okay, how do we get information about our residents? We're not, this isn't just something we're asking you to do, another job, you know, gosh, they need something else to do, let's just have them do observation reports, okay? They really do mean something, they're important. Get to know your residents on a more personal level, and surveys. Last year, a couple of our RAs handed out surveys, which those are perfectly fine, but they're to be used as an icebreaker tool. We don't want to be getting that their major is such and such and their favorite color is orange in week 3, 4, and 5, okay? We want, I mean, those are kind of things, hey, I visited with so-and-so, I saw that his major was this, you know, he's really excited or he's having a hard time in his classes or whatever, you know. Those are the things we want to know that you actually make contact with the person, okay? Show them that you're available and willing to be there for them. Actions do speak louder than words, so do make that effort to make the contact so that they know that you're there, okay? Observe even when you're not visiting one-on-one. Notice their moods, if they're smiling all the time, if they're sad, if they're, you know, always, you know, up and down, depressed, that kind of thing. Notice those. Notice their hygiene. Are there consistent changes? Did they come to school and they were dressed to the nines all the time and now it's sweats, no showers, that kind of thing? Or it's up and down, every other week, you know, you just don't know. So just observe those kinds of things and put those in your observation reports. And also, if you're noticing in this section, if you're noticing one of these things consistently, it's probably worth a memo of conversation so that we can, if we're up here and now they're kind of down here, we can get them to counseling and get them to some resources on campus. Notice how often they are with or without friends. Some people just don't like being around people, and that's okay, but try and make that connection with them and kind of know that about them, you know, not just like they're having a hard time making friends and they want friends. You know, if they want friends and they're having a hard time, be there for them and kind of help get them involved in something, your programs, okay? Notice whether or not they're always tired or stressed or in a hurry or kind of dragging along, that kind of thing. And I don't have it on here, but notice changes in behavior. If they're usually on an even keel and they're way down, or they're up and down, or they're going nuts, you know, or that kind of thing. So just notice behaviors as well. Along with actions speak louder than words. If you have your door open, that itself speaks to them that, okay, I can stop by and talk to this person, or you're going to probably say hi when they walk by, that kind of thing. So make sure in the evenings when you are around that you have your door open or you're visible in the commons area so that they can see you guys and see that you're interacting and you're not just sitting in your room waiting for them to come to you, okay? Be sociable while working at your desk hours. Be very attentive. And I learned a lot about residents in the 3 hours a day that I sat at the desk. So if you're really doing your job and you're looking up and you're not, I mean, you can have the TV on for background noise, not that you need background noise in a residence hall, but you can have it on or whatever, but make sure you're doing your job and you're observing and you're making connections with not just your residents, but all of the residents. Because some residents may not feel comfortable going to their very own RA, but if they kind of made that connection with you, they might feel comfortable coming to you. And we want them to be able to go to somebody. And if it's not you, let them know that they can come to your RD, or, you know, we do have resources out there that they can go to, okay? And attend campus activities as well as programs, not just your own programs, not just your own building programs. We encourage you all to go to other programs and get your residents to other programs, so that we can continue to have our programs. Okay? What is done with the reports? They are emailed from you guys to your building directors, your resident directors, and then, like I said earlier, we do read through each and every one of those. Then we forward it on to Tammy and Sherry, the housing director, and then they read through. So they have a lot more to read through because they have, you know, everybody. So they read through. So that's where it's important too that you guys highlight your red flags. And then we do the same. If maybe you guys didn't think we would highlight your red flag that you gave us, but if you didn't think something was a red flag and we kind of like, we've noticed something personally with that person, we might red flag something else for Tammy and Sherry to go over. And then from there, they forward it on to the interim executive director of student life and student affairs, which is Aaron Prestwich. And from there, if it needs to go up higher, it will. And just and a lot of it's just safety of the kids, okay? Any questions so far? No? Okay. So, this is what the new observation report looks like. It looks very similar to the old. I did update it a little bit on the group page so that you can kind of do spell check within the program now, which we ask you guys to do, because it does go higher up. And if we have to spend our time editing and making it, you know, everything spelled right, then that's just a lot of time that we shouldn't have to spend, I guess. So make sure you do spell check and that kind of thing. If it's not working right for you guys, let me know. Jimmy Tallulah had social withdrawal and academic attendance problems, but we found that you guys believe are true, okay? I saw Jimmy walking in front of old admin on Monday. He nodded when I said hello. Not really any interaction, so that's probably not the best observation report on that kid, okay? Bernice Jenkins, I haven't seen Bernice much this week. I will watch for her more next week. We really, really don't want to see that one, okay? And then we have gotten that in the past. I'm not saying it was last year or, you know, but in years past, that is one we should never get. If you have not seen that person in day 2 or 3, then we need to probably know that sooner than Friday night at 10 p.m., okay? Because sometimes kids do move off campus and we don't know. They've left their things here and they come and go just to get enough things for the next few days or whatever. So we do kind of need to know that if you haven't seen them before Friday night, okay? So as soon as you realize, oh crap, I haven't seen them in 3 days, probably need to let us know, but still put something on your observation report that you spoke to your RD because I have not seen this person, but I still continue to try throughout the week. Yada yada, okay? Now, if I see that exact report, I'm going to know where that came from, okay? George Osborne. I saw George several times this week. Each time he was with friends and very vibrant. He told me that he is very excited for breaks so that he can go see his family. That's fairly decent. You've observed his behavior, you've had a conversation with him, you know something about him. He's excited to go home and see his family. You know, he doesn't seem depressed and homesick to go see his family, but he's excited to see them, okay? Gigi Smalls. Social access. Sorry, I have fun coming up with some of these names. Every time I see Gigi, she is always in a hurry, but always with friends. I knocked on her door this week and her roommate says that she is always gone throughout the day and comes home late at least 4 times a week. What?
That's college.
That's college. It is sometimes, but at least that shows us that you've observed her, you see her, but you do try, and you did try to go make contact with her, and you got some information about her. But don't stop there after the roommate conversation. Still try and get over. And like if you see Jimmy Tallulah walking across campus and all you get is a nod or whatever every day, say, hey, I'd like to catch up with you this afternoon. Just so that they know you're reaching out and you're not just saying, hey, what's up, and you really don't care. You know, because that's just the way we are sometimes. Hey, how are you? Okay, whatever. You know, so just say, hey, I want to catch up with you later or whatever. Those kinds of things. Anybody have any questions? Some kind. No questions? Sean, how did you do your observation reports last year?
Pretty much like the first two.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being honest, but I didn't know that.
Well, some of them, I don't know, there was some kids where I could go without seeing them for a while. And it wouldn't be unusual, they just, like our schedules wouldn't match up, but eventually we would get to them. I was never worried about them being on campus, like things that we would be able to.
Okay.
I didn't know they were residents either, so it's nice, like,
Right.
I could get more personal information from them.
Okay. And even if you make connections with them in the cafeteria, or you see them consistently at the same time or whatever, every day in the cafeteria, but you just don't catch them, you don't want to interrupt the conversation or whatever, just so we know that somebody's had an eyeball on these kids and they're not just lost out there, okay? Huh? JP, how did you do yours?
I did a lot of mine, like sitting at the front desk, because working at the front desk, you see them all the time. Because I don't know about other buildings, but high rise, you may not see residents on your floor because they've moved in with their girlfriend or whatever on a different floor, so they'll be in the building, but you never catch them in the room.
Okay. Kelly?
I did mine. Sometimes I couldn't reach my residents and some of them, but I try to like talk to them as much as I can. Like I left my door open sometimes, so that like when they walk by or like when I walk by, I can just sometimes it's kind of at first it's kind of weird if you have freshmen on the floor because they don't really know you, and then it's so hard for you to go talk to them because you don't know whether they want to talk to you. They're like shy, or you don't know what it is. Sometimes I have residents like there's this one girl. My first year that I started, I talked to her. She was like, "Yeah," and then she walked away. Like it's every time, always like that. And I was like, I don't know what is wrong with you. Like she's just quiet. When I get to know her, she's a really sweet girl. She's just quiet. It's just always like her. She's like, yeah. She never talks to anyone on the floor.
Yeah.
And she'll just stay in her own room. And then it's so hard to like talk to her at first, but after a while, it's just.
You do really have to step out of your comfort zone in this job.
Really enthusiastic scream when you chill on this.
Yeah. I mean, I've had to step out of my comfort zone quite a bit, but it's okay. I mean, if you're confident, they don't really know that you're uncomfortable, but you don't want to be overconfident. Just make sure that I've noted at the very bottom that your observation reports remain confidential and true to facts. If you have opinions, 99.9% sure that this is going on, but you're not really sure, and you haven't had a physical conversation with this person or anything, that goes in the body of the email, not in your observation report. Okay?
And if you talk to this person, I know the observation report is due on Friday. There are times that you would just do it on Friday, but if you go talk to this person, like, even though you don't have time to write it down or something, so that like, you know, you can put it back into the log. Because once you go on Friday, like I have had that before, just one Friday, like you couldn't think of what you have had a conversation with that person.
That's a good point. So if you talk to them earlier in the week, make a note of it.
Yeah.
You talked to them and you guys were at this location and just brief notes about what you talked about, because you don't want to wait until Friday night to
type up
try and
all of it,
remember,
yeah.
oh crap, when did I see that person, where were we, what did we talk about, okay? So just make little notes in the back of your notebook or whatever that you've made contact with this person and that kind of thing. You don't want to wait till the end, otherwise we will get reports like the first two, or their favorite color is red, okay? So just make sure that, because you may talk to them more than you know or observe them more than you know throughout the week, and by Friday, you can only remember 1 or 2 incidences, but you've had 6 contacts with them that week, you know, so just make sure you're on top of it and start doing it before 10 o'clock at night.
On here, I have like a physical illness thing, like if there's an illness after like the first 5 weeks, you're still referred to you.
Yeah, like it, you know, just depression and that kind
Or
of
no,
thing.
just like a physical, like, or like if they're just like a flu or something like that.
If it's just the flu or whatever, you don't have to. But if it's something that you observe or overhear that could potentially turn into more, we need a memo conversation. know, if you, that's, you know, we want you to continue even after these 5 weeks are done. If you notice things, even if you notice things about a different resident, not even your own, we want a memo of conversation so that we can keep an eye on things. Because, and it's not even, memos aren't just for, we'll go over it more later, but memos aren't just for behavioral or that kind of thing. They can be for anything that you might be concerned about. If you saw so-and-so fighting with their boyfriend or girlfriend and it was pretty heated, you might send a memo in case it comes to something more later. Okay? Any questions? Andy, Lynn, Jenny? Here, did I get them all? Okay. I think we have 4 minutes to go on to the next one, but we'll wait and see Brian's done.